Hey, my name's David.
My name's Kaiya, and we're the creators of You Are Art, where we demystify the life of an artist through real and honest conversations between creatives.
We hope to explore and inspire a more authentic definition of art while learning from each other along the way.
Let's jump right in. Hey everyone, welcome back to You Are Art. We're back with another episode. We've got David behind the camera. Say hey, David.
Sup?
And we've got another amazing guest this week. New week, new guest. You know how it is. In spirit of this podcast, we actually allow our guests to introduce themselves to see how you see yourself. So, Amin, take the stage. Welcome.
So my name is Amin Payne, aka Teymori. I'm a DJ, producer, performer.
Painter.
Just been paint for fun. It's not, I wouldn't flex on it. Remember, it's not. I don't want people messaging me being like,
"Can we get a commission?"
Yeah, just all around a music man, full-time musician. And it's been like 11 years since I've been in Melbourne doing this thing full time now. It's been great. But yeah, I guess that's me.
I'm very thankful that you moved to Melbourne. We only met like 2 months ago, I think.
Yeah, not too long, yeah.
Yeah, and I think you're amazing. I think what you do is amazing. I love your music. I love working with you. So just shout out to good people in the industry. This is one of them.
Yes. Now we've got heaps of mutual talented friends as well, which has really helped with the connection.
Yeah.
Melbourne's cool like that. It's really good like that.
So you've been here for 11 years, and I wanted to talk to you briefly about being away from home and building a new home somewhere else while building your career, because that's a really hard thing to do, and a lot of artists do that. But how did you go about actually?
Yeah, interesting. Well, I love New Zealand to bits. It wasn't like and something dramatic happened that I needed to flee, but it was like I did reach a point where I had finished uni. I had my fun, and it just got to a point where I felt like I clocked being in Auckland. There was not much platforms, opportunities, and love, support. So, and then I came visited my sister for her birthday once in 2008, I believe, and instantly fell in love with Melbourne and didn't even know what I had to offer in terms of say musicianship and such. I just loved the city, so I was just like, yeah, let's pack all my stuff and just move to Australia. And at that time I was young and it was exciting and nerve-wracking, but it was probably the best decision I ever made because it helped me grow into a person and just learn how to adapt to a new environment and then start from. I had heaps of friends and family back in New Zealand, but I had nobody here.
Yeah.
Whew, it's hot in here.
Yeah, I should mention.
It's a hot day in Melbourne, y'all.
It's a very hot day in Melbourne, and you guys know we're in my apartment, so one day we'll be in a studio with the air conditioner going, but
one day
we're just not there yet.
One day. But yeah, it's for me it was difficult at first being away from family and starting from zero, but yeah, again towards once I was established, and it was a really good decision, and it was just bunch of other friends and whatnot have kind of followed on and got inspired by the idea, I guess, knowing that Melbourne has more to offer and stuff. And yeah, I've had a few friends move here as well, which is pretty cool to have a slice of New Zealand in Australia.
Yeah, you have quite a community around you here.
Definitely, yeah, for sure. That's what makes things so much easier. I have a crack team. We like to call everyone's really good at what they do. And then you just assemble that team and everything gets executed really well every time.
Yeah, I see that with your work ethic.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Do you, when you were thinking of moving, did you have to face kind of that inner voice that was back and forth? Maybe I should stay, maybe I shouldn't go, or did you just know that when you needed to go?
Yeah, interesting. I didn't know. That's why I that saying, you got to be in it to win it. So I knew that I don't know what Melbourne had to offer unless I experienced it. So it wasn't I'm just going to go dab and then see if it works out and then come back. It was kind of I went there with the intentions of no, I'm going to make it work, whatever it takes, because it's not it's a failure to me. Let's say I came here for 2 years and I was all right, well that was fun, I'm going back to music. It's not it's a failure, but it's just that I do believe that everyone can evolve and become better, and that was one of the whole point of leaving New Zealand was to have that opportunity to grow and evolve. Whereas, and I felt if I stayed in New Zealand, it would have held me back a bit with, just my mom and dad being very protective and, you know how it is with family, and so I lived at home while I was going to uni, it was like the only option. So I was like a late bloomer in terms of like moving out and living on myself and whatnot. So
So was I.
yeah, look at you.
Yeah. I was a late bloomer too, like with moving out. I think, yeah, that's a whole nother conversation about culture and everything. But yeah, it was really hard for me to leave my family.
Oh, really? And what year was that? Like how old were you when you had to?
I was 22. But I had a partner. Like the first time I was on my own was like, last year.
Oh, okay. So you only had
26.
like lived with a partner and then now you've only lived with yourself. Oh, so you've never done like the share house thing?
I've done one share house in between, you know, then and there. But yeah, my family was like, they broke up. She can come home now.
They're like, yes.
Yes.
Wait, so it was originally 22 when you moved out, was it?
I was actually younger. I was 19 when I moved in with my like ex.
Okay. Well,
but it was back and
that's
forth.
like a late bloomer then.
No, because it was back and forth.
Young. That's not late. That's young.
No, all my stuff was at mum's. You know, I was just sleeping over at his house.
Okay.
I probably moved, 22.
Right.
That's still pretty early, that I'd say, like 22.
Yeah. I guess for some reason I don't consider moving out until it's on your own without a partner.
Right.
That's my perception of it.
Yeah.
It's probably twisted.
I moved out when I was 21. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was 25 when I moved to Melbourne. So again, later than you guys, but I think that's what's changed a bit now. You know, like generations. Like it's it's changed. People kind of just like maturing quicker.
Yeah.
It's kind of freaky.
It is freaky.
Like you meet like a 21-year-old, like damn, you're so like sorted. I was like, I was not that when I was 21. I was just like party life, you know.
Because I was just thinking, it's like late bloomer. Just in general. Yeah.
I feel like probably the next generation after that will feel it and we'll all feel it. I feel like my parents look at me like I've grown much more than they did when they were my age. So yeah, we'll always be giving to the next generation.
Let's go.
So with moving to Melbourne, the reason that I asked you about that is because I've been feeling this like urge to go to the UK and just stay there. But I have this mad voice in me that's like, you got a good life, you got good friends, you got family here. Why should I? And I'm sure there are other artists out there that are like, why should I jump? And do you have any advice for that?
Yeah, well, it's funny you say that because a lot of times when I go traveling, sometimes like I travel a lot, but then I wouldn't say a lot, but some people are like, oh, what's the matter? You're like sick of Melbourne or need a little break? I'm like, no, I love Melbourne. Like I know, I realize how amazing it is. I just need say space or go experience some new shit. And I always come back like appreciating Melbourne even more. So usually like when I was younger, I had also the intentions of say like Japan. I was obsessed with Japanese culture, Japanese everything. So I was like, ooh, I'll go to Tokyo. It's a vibe. And I went there. Awesome, really awesome. But it was like around the same time that I realized that holy shit, I've got way more connects, way more platforms, and way more like opportunities to do things here than I would in Tokyo because it's like starting from zero again. So I think it was like a trip like that actually inspired me to like push myself even more in Melbourne. Like, oh, we've got a good thing here. Why seek more? And then also my sister used to live in Berlin, and I went there 3 times, and there was like this quick like period of window where I'm like, oh, maybe I can move to Berlin. I can be that cool like everyone, that person that moves to Berlin makes techno. I don't know, I don't do techno, but like I went there again. Berlin is amazing. It's really dope, and this is kind of like around more of a prime time of when Melbourne scene was really bubbling. Like all my heroes were my friends, and everyone's humble as hell. So it's just like, why would I leave this? Just to seek something better when really like, the whole time you realize the grass was greener on you. And, it's sometimes you have to like miss something, like have space between something to realize like how good it is,
That's
like
beautiful.
you get spoiled. You just think like, oh, that's how it's expected. And then you go traveling, you're like, oh man, we've got a good like PT, for example, you go to some countries, their public transport is not good. And then you're like, oh shit, we got it actually pretty good here. Just in general, like we're very privileged, and that's like a lot of people who like complain or they're trying to seek better. I personally feel like if they haven't done the thing of like, all right, let's fix the things that are not good here first, and then see if it's like, if then it's like, all right, cool, I give up, I want something new. But they're like, might like move overseas, seeking for everything better, and they're like, oh shit, what have I done?
Yeah.
But in saying that, I've had friends who've done spontaneous decisions, and they're like, nah, laters, and then they're loving it. Started a whole new, like, completely live.
I mean, that's what you kind of did.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess so. Yeah, but it's like New Zealand and Australia, like so close. It's not like I moved to Berlin or a whole new country with a different language. So like my sister did that, and it was like, whoa, it's so inspiring. But I think, it's very subjective. And I think the biggest, if you're an artist and you want to decide like, hey, I want to move to this country and you haven't been there, I highly suggest like, you have to at least go there first and test the waters, like get the vibe, maybe even have like pre-organize some connections so that when you get there, it's not like you're a nobody. You kind of have, you know, like your foot through the door to start doing things. And like, you know, in Melbourne, anyone that comes here from like another city, within a week or two of just going to gigs, they'll probably make like 100 friends. Sure. Just simple as that. Engineers, DJs, you know, musicians, the promoters, you know, there's so many people involved in events. So it's kind of like if you're active, you will make the connections.
True.
But yeah, I just think like that whole, like for example, where did you say you wanted to move to? Let's say like UK, London. So have you've been to London
many times, yeah.
And then did you like get really involved and like, you know, checking out the
always
music scene?
Always a tourist.
All right, cool. So again, I've done London a few times. It's a very potential place where you can go off because they really are. It's different. Like it's dope, but it's different. It's not like Melbourne. It's not like the US. It's not like, it's got its own thing going on. And that's what I've been told, and that's what I experienced. But again, like I suggest you do that.
Yeah,
before,
just
like,
suss it out.
Just if you feel like you've got more connects here and more of like an opportunity and platform, you're better off like utilizing it, and like drinking the juice while it's flowing instead of just pretending that there's like zero juice coming out of it and then seek something else. Because the process of moving, the process of settling in, the process of fitting in and all that could take time.
Totally.
Some people could fall off the whole like mode, like some people who are inspired to make music and they do the whole transition. Maybe the whole movement might like take so long or be so stressful that by the time they settle in, you're like, you know what, I don't even want to make music anymore.
Yes.
I'm just here to bake cookies. Like, so again, it's everyone's different. I can't really speak on behalf of others, but for myself, I would only move to a place that I've seen for myself and experienced for myself instead of through other people's like perspective. And also, if I can't see like that it's like if it doesn't match the opportunities and the platforms and the connections that I have here, then it's kind of like I'm settling for less than settling for more. Yeah.
That's great advice.
Yeah.
And I think one thing that you kind of tapped into there for a second was sometimes you need to make mistakes to be able to realize what you've truly got. Like moving, even if you do jump the gun and move prematurely, you will still come back. That community will still be there for you when you come back.
Absolutely. Yeah, I completely agree. Yeah.
It reminds me of, have either of you guys read The Alchemist?
Yes.
That's one of my favorite books.
Who was it by again? I forgot the author's name.
Paulo Coelho. I'm so sorry for that.
pull up Google search. What about that book though?
Just the way, I'm about to spoil it, so just spoiler alert for The Alchemist. Just how he goes on this whole quest to find the gold, and it ends up being, David, do you want this spoiler?
That's fine.
Ends up being where he started his journey, right under his pillow.
Right.
Yeah. So sometimes I feel like you do, because like you need to go on those journeys, those mistakes.
Right.
And it's not a mistake.
It's not a mistake. If you learn from your mistake, it's a lesson. It's only a mistake if you repeat that mistake.
Absolutely.
So technically, like, I was talking to my friend about chess the other day. I was like, I've lost a lot of games, but you don't look at it as like a negative thing. Every time you lose a game, you kind of like analyze what you did wrong and how, like, what you would do next time you come across that situation to avoid that mistake. So technically, there's no such thing as a mistake. If you've learned from it, it's a lesson. Yeah. It's a mistake if you repeat it and then kind of refuse to, you know, seek the solution or fix it. You just like make it a habit. So it's just like a constant mistake that you allow it to happen.
So true.
Yeah, 100%. But you're right. Like traveling is, you know, you have heaps of good times, but a bunch of hiccups might happen. But like the more you travel and the more those hiccups happen, the more you are prepared for it. You know exactly what to do. It's like, oh, that's right, I'm about to fly. Make sure I got my passport. I got this. You know what I mean? But when you don't travel much, you forget about all the things like, oh, I got to be at the airport this much earlier. I need this, I need that. I'm going to miss. So that's what I've learned. So as long as you learn, it's
no mistake.
It's not such thing as no such thing as mistake. I also like same with like making music. You know, like the whole writer's block thing. I personally don't believe the writer's block. So, but here.
Wait, what?
Tell us your secret.
Again, subjective. People could disagree. That's fine. But I'm speaking on my behalf.
Please,
I don't believe in writer's block, because I personally believe that when someone says, "Oh, I've got a writer's block," you're putting yourself like manually in that state. You're like programming yourself to believe, or putting yourself in a state where you like, I believe that I've got a writer's block. But the thing is with music is it's either the right time to make music or isn't the right time to make music. Just because you get there and then you're like, oh my god, I'm so not inspired, writer's block, it just means it's not the time to make music. Go do something else, inspire yourself, listen to music, like cook, garden, whatever, learn some shit on YouTube, just evolve or forever learn, like, because when you stop learning, that's when shit happens. And again, here's the reason why I'm like this. I don't believe in writer's block. I'm like, when people get into that state, how many of them have actually like, you know what? When was the last time I learned some new chords? When was the last time I downloaded a whole new, like an album, and then try to just make a record just using the samples? You know, like push yourself. Then you realize like it's not a writer's block. It's you either have the right time that you're like super inspired to make music. You're like, let's go, and that's when the juices flows. Yeah. And then there's time where you like, maybe it's time for you to learn. Like instead of making, put that time into practicing and developing new skills. So I mean, that's what I do now. So like, plus I'm so busy and I'm so like inspired all the time. Like we go out and friends DJing, see a band. So it's hard to say that I've got a writer's block. I'm like constantly inspired. Like if I could make music every day, I would, but it's also not healthy to make music every day. Need a break, need space, like I was saying. You need that space to appreciate it. Yeah. Same with performing. If I overperform, I'm just kind of like, yo, I'm done. Like it's hard to enjoy it because it just becomes like exhausting. But when you perform like once in a full moon, it's so special. You're like, oh my god, I'm so excited.
Absolutely.
But yeah, that's my tip. Again, like it's a hard one to. I know a lot of people that still like, oh man, you know, sometimes I'm like this. I'm like, cool. But don't forget, you know, you are your worst enemy, and that you are programming your brain. So if the more you put yourself in a negative state, of course, negative things are gonna come out of it. So the idea is not to be like, oh, I'm the shit, fucking cocky, but like put yourself in a positive state. Like, oh, I might not make music today, but tomorrow is the day. Just even like those such better wording than being like, oh, I've got writer's block, I'm not making music today. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? I don't believe in that like forced like intentional negativism towards yourself, because that's just dumb. Like
I agree. And I personally believe that what we believe is what we create in our lives. So if you're telling yourself, it's exactly what you're saying. If you tell yourself you have writer's block, until you tell yourself that you don't have writer's block, you're gonna have writer's block.
It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah, absolutely, man. It's like, you know, some people are like, oh, but that's so cocky, or like, you know, humble yourself. It's like there's a difference between being cocky and then not falling for a trap. Yeah. That like, say society's pressure, or someone said something toxic and you really just take it in and take it personal. But it's kind of like, if you allow words or things to hurt you, then it's really your problem. It's not really the person who rejected it to you, or it's kind of like you've allowed that to be a problem. So it all comes down to how you process it and how you analyze, you know, the incoming things. There's been situations when someone's feedback towards my music was like quite personal, it's offended me, but then I'm like, that person was either being like honest, or maybe it was like a constructive feedback, and instead of me like thinking like, cool, thank you for that, I'm gonna go home and like think about it, I was just like took it really personally. But then again, I was just like, later on someone reminded me, is like, don't be angry at that person, be angry at yourself for allowing those words to do that to you. I'm like, damn, that's deep. All right, noted.
Wow.
Yeah.
Where did you learn this all from? Where is this inspired?
I highly recommend a book called The Power of Your Subconscious Mind by Joseph Murphy, and it's basically like a life hack. It just kind of like, it's really funny because you read the book and you're like, I know this stuff. Like I've read it before. It's just like a really gentle, friendly reminder, but it's just like, he does this thing where end of each chapter is kind of like bullet points, like it's all the points that he's made, and they're just like one-liner life hacks, you know, like don't wish anything bad upon anyone that you wouldn't want, like upon yourself. So just using that, like that helped me get through a breakup, that that helped me get through like friendship issues from and it's just that book I highly recommend it because it's got so many life hacks, and again it just takes it back to like that everything is like it's in your brain. Like if you want to be a good musician, you tell yourself that you're going to be a good musician, you're going to do everything you can in your power to become a good musician, and you actually put in work. So you can't cheat yourself. You know when you're cheating yourself, right? You're like, you know when you're not putting in work, and then you're like, why am I not getting better? It's like, you know why you're not getting better, but you know you can't cheat yourself. And then just like basic, tips, like whatever you do in life, doesn't matter what it is, just do your best, because at the end of the day, the results will come out like, better. And then if anything goes wrong, you can be like, well, I did my best, like what else do you expect from me? But whereas if you don't go full throttle and do your best and it doesn't go well, then you would have that like guilt of like, oh, I could have done more, but I didn't. So again, I try to apply that too, if I'm with family, if I'm with my friends, if I'm at a gig, I just try to be more, just do my best, just if I don't have much energy, it's like just 2 more hours, and then you can go home and sleep instead of just give up on the spot and be like that sad, like an energetic dude, And if I'm sick or not feeling good, I'm not the type to like go out and rub it against others and try to make sympathy. I'll just be like, I'm better off staying at home and not passing this negative energy to others, and just give myself time, and then I'm ready to get back out.
I think that's beautiful, and I think being a mindful creative is not as easy as you're making it sound. It takes a lot of work.
No, you're right, absolutely. Being an artist is not easy.
It's not easy.
Not at all.
We require some form of chaos to be inspired, because creativity isn't order. It's chaotic.
Yeah, absolutely. All the heartbreaks and
even the parties, the gigs, it's like a lot of sensory overload.
That's true. Visually, auditory, you're right. Chaos it's an interesting one. I mean, like even throughout history, like how music has come through, say like, we got blaxploitation, and then we have an era where like the Persian Revolution, for example, the music before that was so different to the music after that. So it's actually really interesting how like really chaotic events, whether it's worldwide or like you said, like a personal, it just like does crazy things to musicians, or music makes people like kind of like, I don't know, elevate.
Yeah, totally.
It's like, but you're right. Sometimes you need things to be broken to be fixed.
Totally. And like, apologies, I feel like this may trigger people out there, but this is completely my opinion. But you could argue that creatives are somewhat more sensitive than most, purely because we need to let a lot of our guards down to be able to create in the flow state that we do create. Yeah. If my guard's up, I don't create as well as I can when I'm just fully like an ocean of emotion. Right.
No, that makes sense.
I can relate to that.
That makes sense. It's like when you look good, you feel good, or whatever, vice versa. Please slip my mind. What did you say before that? I had to
that
creatives are more sensitive.
Exactly.
And so I that's right, sorry. I had a little quick moment.
No, you caught yourself.
I used to live with a really good friend of mine. He was a dancer, like a professional dancer, really good. And I learned so much.
This is Robert.
No, I know Robert. No, this is Josh Kuhn. Shouts out to Josh. Yeah, he's the man. Yeah. I learned so much about like the connections between obviously dance and music. Like everyone knows, it's apparent, but it's just like learning about how the dance like industry works and all the pressures the dancers go through and everything. And I was like, holy shit, it's not like being, say, a painter, a dancer, a singer, a musician, whatever. They're all pretty much the same box. So I do agree with what you said, because you're not saying just musicians. It's technically anyone that creates art, because you're giving a part of your own expression in a physical form, I guess. And then if people vibe with it, great. But if people don't vibe with it, it's a personal thing.
It's scary.
It's very scary, because your job is to go out there and to either entertain people or like, be somebody. And if people don't resonate with it, you're like, well, then what is the purpose of me being an artist? So
exactly.
Absolutely. I completely agree. And like, especially with this day and age, like I know a lot's changed. Like back in the days, the pros and cons of like, say, making music was, back in the days, you would need, say, like 100K or 200K to have access to a studio to be able to record. So therefore, when people who made music then were more serious, like they were like proper musicians, and like we're not fucking around here. We're here to do it proper. So that's what the music was like. Whoa, like so much emotion and real. Now there's pros and cons with, say, how we can just make a track on laptop, you know? I made a whole album on just a laptop and headphones. So that's cool. It's allowing people who like couldn't make music before to make music now, but it's also allowed everybody to make music, and it's so there's like created like a saturation thing.
Yeah.
So
how do you feel about that?
It's hit and miss. There's music, like good music is always out there. You just gotta dig deeper and deeper. How I feel about the saturation part, I'm always like, haven't been a fan of like, say, how mainstream music is always appealed to the youngins, right? That's the people that buy it and support it. And I'm always just like, you know, I want to educate the kids rightly. I want them to I want to expose the kids to like the right music, and I guess the right artists to kind of help them grow in a more it's like feeding them organic food instead of Macca's, as opposed to, you know, like Macca's is like mainstream shit or like bad stuff. It's like Macca's to my ear, so I'd rather have that, something that's good for your soul, and that's what we should be feeding the kids. But again, like I'm a no hater in any form of how you make your music, how old you are, where you're from. Like if it sounds good, love, respect. If, you know, as long as you're not hurting anyone in the process of making your music as well, that's all good. I don't care if you're 15, I don't care if you're 10, I don't care if you made it in a hub using your iPad. It's fucking all good. So yeah, as long as you're creating good output. I've got the whole technology thing has actually allowed a lot of good things to happen, including me being able to make music. Like there's no way I could afford to make music in the 70s or 80s with those cost rates, and maybe I probably just had to give up instantly. But thanks to technology, here we are today. It's honestly changed a lot of
actually, I mean, even this is
look at you, man. Like remember how like, you know, those the cameras that they used to shoot films with.
It's nuts, man.
Nuts. And now people are shooting stuff with their iPhone 13 and some drones. It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, back then, like you'd really only be doing this if you had like a relationship with someone that was doing it.
Right.
Nowadays, you can just pick the stuff up and it's like, I'm a photographer, I'm a videographer now. It's
yeah.
You know what though? I will say, if I picked this up, I couldn't make it look the way you make it look because of your experience. And I think that even though it's oversaturated,
right,
it can, but then this is where it comes into like art is subjective and like what I consider not good.
Right.
Like it's like a lot of mainstream music jars me. Like I'll hear it play and I'll just turn that shit off right now. In no hate, but just like it just doesn't align with my energy for some reason.
Right.
And I can tell when someone's written it from the heart and someone has just picked up a camera and been like, I just want to be a photographer
I just want to make money. I want to be fat. Yeah, you're right. Absolutely. I ain't gonna lie. Like, music is very subjective. Did I tell you that food thing? How much like food? Food and music are just almost like brothers and sisters in every form.
Tell me everything about this. My two loves.
So for example, you could, you know, raw food, that's raw music. You can overcook a meal and then it's burnt, saturated.
Yes.
You can have lots of ingredients, say like a pizza, and it still tastes good. It's not like too much flavor, but then you can have something simple as like 3 ingredients and it still sounds fire. People could be allergic to peanut butter and you're like, cool, I won't put peanut butter in your food. And it's same with music. So the reason I go like, I put them as back in the days when I was like, oh, have you heard of like Pete Rock? And then people are like, now I'm like, how do you mean you haven't heard of Pete Rock? Or you like show them a track and you're like, this is amazing. They're like, oh, I'm like, oh my God, we can't be friends. You don't like this song. You know, but like now it's kind of like, well, if you told me you didn't like peanut butter, for example, and I'm like, all right, cool, respect. I'll make sure I won't give you peanut butter. We just move on to the next thing. I wouldn't be like, what do you mean you don't like peanut butter? Like, this is my shit. We can't be friends. So it's the same thing with food. Like, it's so subjective. People have their own dietaries. People have allergies. So you just like respect what people like and are allergic to and hope that they do the same. And that way there's no like who's right or wrong or what's, because there's no definition. It's like beauty and perfection. There's no definition of those 3. Good music, you know, it's so subjective. It's always going to be like that. And so people should actually use that to kind of like not only humble themselves instead of being so like patriotic and stubborn about their opinions. You can just humble yourself and be like, hey, cool, I respect, man. I respect you don't like peanut butter. That's cool. That's cool, man. No problem. Like, you're lost. But like, you know, like that kind of thing. But then also when in the creating process, like you see people that make food with like love, with organic ingredients and like proper seasoning, marinade, and it comes out like, oh my God, what is this? And it's same with music. That's how I feel about it. When you use like real nice ingredients, it's cooked with love and good intentions, and it's not like overcooked or undercooked. And also another thing, I learned this from a chef. I remember a chef friend once was like, I can make like say 12 different cuisines, but I can't make one dish that's gonna satisfy everybody in this restaurant.
Absolutely.
It's impossible. And I was like, and then I instantly was like, that's like music too. There's no way I can make a song that the whole world's gonna be like, this is the one, bro. Well done. Impossible. There is no such thing, because at the end of the day, someone's gonna be allergic or have dietaries in that food that they can't consume. So again, it's just like another way to look at your music, like, oh, I don't have to satisfy everyone. Don't worry about it. Know your niche. And as long as you know enjoying it, and your intentions are good behind it, and you're having fun, that's what really matters. Like there's no way you're gonna satisfy the world. That's impossible.
No.
Like forget about that. And even the whole like idea of imagine coming up with a whole new dish, being like, yo, I just made this kebab pho. How do you guys think about it? You know, like you can't. Everything's a fusion or a remix or a recycle. There's no such thing as originality. So even that, just let it go. Don't worry about being original. Get your inspiration. Get your music. Have fun.
Yes.
And don't worry about like the whole world criticizing it, because you are never gonna win.
And it's kind of with art, I've found, and I've fallen into this trap. It's like, I want to have that one album. Finally, I made that one album. But I think this comes down to like, don't be afraid to explore new cuisines. You know, like I have some friends that are like, oh, I love Italian food, and every time I'm with them, we're not going Thai, we're not going anywhere, we're going to Italian. So even as an artist, it's like, okay, if you're an R&B artist or whatever, don't be afraid to
expand.
Try make a house track. You know.
And our taste buds change. Like my music taste has changed over time, and so has my taste buds. I didn't used to like oysters, now I love oysters. So again, like you're right. So it's the same thing. I'm telling you, music and food.
Yeah, I'm loving this.
Are like just way too similar. It's not funny.
This.
Like a chef is, like music. It's just too much, and you can have like a really good. Let's say you're a chef and you have like a really good team, everyone's helping out. It's the same thing as like a band. That's how I feel with my like Teymori band. It's like, it's my music, I'm the headmaster, but with that, my chef and my like staff, the food is not possible. So when you have like the right team and everything's cooked, and then literally the whole restaurant's like, well done, 5 stars.
Yeah.
Would recommend.
Yes.
So I should take that in. It's a good analogy.
Totally true, man. Because like we film with chefs as well, right? We actually did a show last year. No, it was last year.
Shout out Mind Society.
Mind Society.
Oh, what?
So we did a show called A Chef's Cure, right?
Yeah.
And this was during lockdown. We had chefs come into our studio space back when we had it, and they would cook a dish that people can cook at home. And these are all different chefs, different backgrounds, different types of cuisines.
Nice.
And it's just like, it's so true what you were saying, how like each chef brings something different, but at the same time, like because we're all different, we don't have the same taste.
No.
But what we can do is we can take from just trying and then apply that in a different way. It's like, maybe I don't like this food, but there's something about it that's interesting. Maybe I can take that and then make something new out of it.
That's exactly how fusion food comes about. Someone would take the good part of this one and good part of that, and then just put it together and be like, genius.
Yeah, because it's like one of the chefs, right? Like he's Argentinian, but Argentinian food has roots in like like Spanish stuff and whatnot. So he makes a dish that's Argentinian, but it's a fusion of all these different things.
Right, like Portuguese food,
etc.
Peruvian and such. I went to Peru. And in Peru, there's like actually a really high Japanese population, like the second biggest. Outside of, so because Brazil is the highest Japanese population outside of Japan, and then it goes Peru. And while I was in Peru, I went to this like Japanese restaurant, and I kind of didn't know this before I went to Peru. I felt bad, but I got there. Apparently, it's like world famous for fusion Japanese food. So it's still made by like the Peruvian Japanese folks, but like it's with like Amazon herbs and spices, and it's kind of like more, imagine like imagine like Japanese food, like all that sashimi stuff like that, but just like spicier. And they make this sauce called ahi sauce, which is like a yellow capsicum based chili, whatever. And then I've
So
never
good.
had. I told my Japanese friend Banjo, I was like, bro, I'm not. No offense, like I love Japan. I've been to Japan, but
No
the best Japanese food I've had was in Peru. And even he was like, oh yeah, I know. Like he like signed it up, and it's. I guess maybe the Japanese folks would disagree because it's not authentic.
Blasphemous.
But like that for me is like an epitome of like a really good remix where it's just like I already like the original but you killed this and you should definitely try it. So like ceviche, they do ceviche.
Oh,
Yeah.
He made a ceviche as well. It's so good, man.
It's the best in Peru. They
I'm
really
so
like
hungry right
nail
now.
it. It's fresh. It's the ahi sauce, I'm telling you, is crack. Like
It
you
really
put it on
is.
everything. You just
Oh,
like
man.
it's so good. But yeah,
Wow.
fusion is goals, man. Fusion is the combination of two of the best of the world, you know?
I actually got stuck in a creative rut at one point because I was so dedicated to being the first of its kind.
Oh, yeah, nah.
And every song I'd make, I'm like, oh, that was a Mac Miller flow. Oh,
Yeah,
that was a this.
yeah.
And I was so pedantic about it until one of my friends called me out and they're like, who do you think you are that you're not
Yeah.
going to draw inspiration from any other human being on this planet? Like, why are you putting that pressure on yourself? I don't think that's even possible at this point of our evolution as like a species.
No,
We're
it's-
always going to be inspired by each other.
Yeah, and there's even think about music. Imagine if you were born, right? And then you've never heard music in your life. Like, I don't know, it sounds bizarre, but let's say you've just never heard music. And then first time you hear music, someone like, let's say, plays a jazz sound, jazz or a funk track, and then you're like, okay, that's music. And then someone's like, okay, go make music. What do you think they're gonna make?
Exactly.
So it's just, like you don't know what
Yeah.
something is, and then so I find out, and I always think like go back like where did music come from? Like who was the first person that like was like, you know, like what was the first instrument ever? I'm assuming like mouth, just chanting and clamping was like the very first. I'm assuming because I remember reading something about the whistle people before like languages were even formed. There was like people who communicated in whistling.
Yeah, there's
which
some in
was
the Turkish
ridiculous.
mountains still.
Yeah, mountains. Yeah, they were
Yeah.
the mountain folks actually because the sound echoes and stuff. And I was like, damn. So we're like whistling, and then I don't know, like maybe like
Just
chanting.
body language and stuff.
Yeah, like a lot of like, you know, African chanting and clapping, and then came like I think percussive stuff like sticks and stones and hitting like, you know, and then came I think the very first instrument is something alongside like a sitar vibes, whereas or like one of those I forgot the violin, like the Chinese violin where you can bend this.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah,
I
so
can't remember what's
I
called.
think stuff like that, like real basic. It's just like doop doop, one string, and the guy's like dong ding ding ding.
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah.
So I'm always like I'm super curious to know exactly like who's the first person who was like, all right,
Yeah.
this is music,
Yeah.
like crazy. Like maybe they called it chanting or nursery rhymes for how long, God knows, and then it became music. So again, and then whoever heard that wouldn't get inspired and so forth. So it's all about inspiration. Like you wouldn't know what food is until you eat it.
Yeah.
And then whatever that first meal you've had is the definition of a meal to you. Like, oh, this is food. And
Yeah.
so if someone was like, go make food, you'd go make what you just had because you don't have any idea of like what else, what's like what tastes or flavors are out there because you haven't been exposed to it.
Slight side note, but I know the shit out of my girlfriend because I'm like, I always ask those like random questions like, who's the first person that did this? Who's the first person that got like cacao and like we can make chocolate? You know?
She's like, I don't know.
that was I was like, who was the first person that invented the toilet? Like legit.
Yeah,
That was
honestly, yeah.
like that person deserves like, you know, all the class. Say,
Take a moment.
Shouts out to the guy that invented the toilet. But yeah.
Yeah, wow.
But it's fucking interesting because like you kind of like get to dig into their process and see like where the influences came from and then how that evolved and changed into what it is now, you know?
That's what I love about it. Like everything's like travel. Remember how we were talking about the whole Iran and Turkey thing as well? Like,
Yeah, well, don't worry, we'll go into
no,
that.
we probably shouldn't. I kind of really love the whole how like say, you know, the music from this part of the world kind of like slowly travels and makes its way to say Asia, and then Asia gets its inspiration and then makes its way to, you know, this side of the world and so forth. I kind of really like that. I feel like that's what the whole purpose of music was always to be. It's universal. It's a universal sound. It's not like we own this and then we should only be performed here, stuff like that. I feel like, again, like a good meal, it should be shared. Like if you come
Yeah.
up with something ingenious, you should be like, hey, everybody should try this.
Yeah.
Like this is really good.
Yeah.
So I'm a big fan of everything I'm a big fan of like sounds coming together. I'm a big fan of like people who are not from, say, a certain country, but they really listen to that country's music. Like they just love it, they resonate with it. I find that beautiful, you know. So that's like a really cool thing to see.
Do you have a country that you're not
Brazil,
native to? Yeah.
Brazil. I'm like obsessed with not only the music, the people, and yeah, I've been wanting to go for ages. Actually, if it wasn't for COVID, I'm pretty sure 2020 was the year.
No way.
Yeah, like just after the whole Mexico Cuba thing, I was like, cool, Brazil's next.
Wow.
But that happened.
Do you want to shout out any Brazilian artists so you know?
Oh man, Azimuth, Marco Valle, Tim Mia. I'm like a big fan of like old school. I love the new shit. The new stuff's more probably like they do like this thing called ballet funk, which is really crazy.
Ballet funk?
Yeah, it's like from the favelas of Rio de Janeiro in Brazil, and it's like boom chap chap boom chap chap boom chap, and it's fire. You know? It's like shouts out to all the Brazilians. Obrigado for the good music. I think there's something very special about Brazilian music that just I don't know, I can't hear it anywhere else.
Why do you think you connect to it?
I'm a big fan of percussions, and
you are. Can we just talk about the box of things you bring?
I just love percussions, and they do it well. Everything from the bossa nova to just everything, they do it really well, and they just have like this heaps of songs where instead of lyrics, it's just like ba ba da ba ba. Like it's crazy. They just got these crazy chord changes, and it's like a rocket a lot. I don't know. From day one I've been resonating with like Brazilian music, the funk, the jazz, the
love that.
the like the bossa nova stuff. But like when I talk about Brazilian music, I'm predominantly referring to more like the old stuff, like again Teymori, Banda Black Rio, where it's like live funk and just predominantly live stuff. And actually 2 of the legends are coming here in 2 weeks, like Azimuth and Marco Valle, who are from artists from like the 70s.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and they still live. They still if you can get tickets.
Wow, I'm guessing you're going.
Oh, 100%. I bought tickets to Brisbane by accident from the excitement, because it was like Palace City. I was like, let's go, and then it's like Queensland. I was like, oh, yo. So I asked for my refund and then instantly got a ticket. I can't wait. It's the first time seeing them as well.
Oh, yeah.
But Brazil is definitely one country that I need to go, and then it has to be like I need to do like a proper African trip. I want to go with my friend Malik, who's from Kenya, and we want to do like Kenya, Congo, and Ghana, hopefully, and because all those 3 countries like musically, and I'd love to go to Nigeria as well. That's like the godfather of Afrobeats, Kula Kuti and all that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I hugely resonate with Brazilian and like African music in general, and I've realized this because I love percussions and I love chanting. Obviously, like Arabic and Persian music is crazy on percussions, but it's a different type of percussion. So
it's very different.
Different, and it really like you don't need anything. You can just be drums for half an hour. People lose their shit. Yeah. Like the weddings, like you don't even need a band. Just need 2 dudes going.
I was with my dad today at Store DJ, and they had like the beat pads.
Right.
And I was just like, and Dad's like. Like the Turkish pattern.
Nice.
It's just so funny seeing the difference of like I'm just trying to hit like a hip hop kind of.
And
Dad's
I find some of these finger works are crazy. Like I've been to some like wild weddings. I'm telling you, like people lose their shit, and it's just one percussion instrument.
Yeah.
But the percussions all day, every day.
Super inspiring for you. Huh?
Yeah.
You introduced me to a lot of new percussion instruments in one night.
I just collect them everywhere I go traveling. So I've been to like I think 32 countries now, and the 4 top like ones that I always wanted to go to and has like mad percussion game was like Morocco, Cuba, Nepal. It was pretty wild. Iran was pretty good. I found some in Mexico, but not as much as I hoped so. And then next one is obviously I want to go to Brazil and on the other but I just collect them everywhere I go, and now I've got like, all sorts, everything from shakers, bells, tambourines to flexi tone. It's great.
Yeah.
It's organic.
I love that. You just mentioned that you went to 32 countries.
Yeah, it's a bit of it.
I was going to bring this up anyway with how busy of a life you live, and I just want to know how you like hold this peace and compassion and niceness when you have such a hectic life.
I don't know. I think I'm just built different. Like
come on, give us something.
I don't know. I mean, okay, eat well, sleep well. just don't cheat life. Like, don't fall off and then pretend that you didn't lack sleep.
It's actually so true.
Because people legit do that, and then they're like, oh, I wonder why I feel this way. It's like, when was the last time you looked after yourself? When was the last time? So I don't know. I like to work hard. I like to stay busy, because when I'm not busy, I feel like I'm not utilizing my time. So the whole being busy part is kind of like intentional, but then that's good. Like, I stay busy, I save my money, I get my work done, time goes fast, and then I like treat myself to a little holiday, which what it does is like reboosts my inspiration, my mojo, and then I have space, and then I come back, and it's just like, I guess that's like the loop that I go through. Plus, like, you know, I try to not to surround myself with like negative folks or negative music or negative states to even, like I was saying before, I've learned the hard way that it's up to me to decide. So I just tend to, you know, I love my friends, and I try to just have like good people in my life, and I don't listen to like sad or angry music just to trigger myself. I don't see the purpose. Again, no disrespect to anyone out there. It's like, but I just like, I just like feel good music. I like music that makes me feel positive, I guess. Not a negative in any form, which is fine. You know, it's good to cry sometimes. So maybe I put the sad song then instead of like trying to cry to funk. Like, that doesn't work. Like, I don't know, but honestly, everyone is so. Another thing I've learned with everything, traveling and just aging, that like everyone's so different, from the way our brain works to our taste, to what we see, and then like how body works. So it's like so hard to set like a formulated instruction on how to live a good life, or, you know, if you did what I did, then you would be in the same position. It's like, it doesn't really work like that. Just find out your weaknesses and your strengths, and then kind of like go from there. And again, like, if you want to travel more, then I guess you gotta. I made plenty of sacrifice in my lifetime, which is fine. You know, it's cost me friends, maybe like partners, but it's always been for the better. You know, it's like decisions I had to make, but I've sacrificed, you know, like heaps of things to be able to afford to travel or be able to do that. So that's what I mean. The traveling is like a reward, and that's what I'm able to do it. It's like, work hard, play hard, get your reward, repeat, you know. So anybody can generally, you know, if you put that sort of vibe into it, it's achievable. The traveling part is actually a little bit difficult, especially now with like, not just COVID, but like being occupied, because you try to travel and it's like, oh, when can I actually go? Like, you know, say I want to go to Turkey, it's like, when can I actually go to Turkey? Like, in which window is it? Am I gonna have 2 or 3 weeks open? It's like,
I'm trying to convince Amin to come to Turkey.
I'm not far from it. Like, I'm trying to go to Iran, Turkey, so it would make sense to visit Turkey if I'm in Iran. It's so close. Yes. But I highly recommend traveling to everybody. I feel like it's a free site, like life course. It's like you kind of learn more about yourself, especially if you go to a place where, like, you know, you get a culture shock, or you see people living with such a simple life. They don't have anything, but they're just happy and at peace, and you just kind of realize that, you know, we really gotten too caught up in this materialistic, like, cloud chasing or needing other people's approval. These people just literally live day by day. As long as they got their food and their shelter, everyone's happy. There's no complaints. There's no first world problem bullshit. So you go traveling and you see all that, and it should humble. If you're a good person, if you're a good soul, you see that, and it's like humbles you. You kind of like count your blessings. You become grateful, and then you come back all like, yo, man, like, I'm, you know, so thankful for that. I have this privilege. Like, there's 80 million Iranians out there, and I know, like, they all could have, you know, there's no way they can all have the opportunity to make music. So the fact that I'm like one out of the 80 million that was able to do what I do, every day I'm like, man, I'm so lucky. Like, I'm pretty sure there'd be like 50 million Persians who would die to, I don't know. I don't know those figures. Don't look them up. Google it. But you know what I mean? Like, I'm like, oh shit. Every time I'm like, I'm gonna quit music or whatever, or like, oh, whatever music. It's just like, hold up. Like, someone would kill to be in your position, and you just let it throw away like it's nothing. It's just like, no, stop doing that. Don't be negative. Like, count your blessings, count your privileges, and do the best you can, because other people would die. Yeah, kill to be in. So that helps too. Traveling helps with that. I realized that when I went to Iran, after 20 years of leaving.
Wow.
Yeah, I went in 2015. That was beautiful. But like, every person I met was just so fascinated, but and jealous in a sense of like, yo, what's it like, living in NZ and all. I was like, oh my god, and they just look at you like you've made it, man. You've accomplished life, and look at us. But it's they're all still very nice, and they're still having a different life, I guess. And that's the thing now. It's like the whole Persian life. And the Aussie life is a whole
same
different
with Turkey.
So different.
So
You can't even compare them. Like I had a friend of mine who was quite nervous. He hasn't been back to. He was born in Oz, but he's never been to Iran. And he was just like, oh, I like my Farsi. And I was like, dude, they're gonna love you with arms open. Don't be nervous. It'll be great, And he loved it. And also, it turned out like his Farsi was pretty good for someone that was born in here. And it's shouts out to his parents that taught him.
That's beautiful.
But that was like this. He's like, he said the same thing I did. So like, I've been to 32 countries, but like before I went to Iran, I was like obsessed with finding all these like, I want this like exotic, this crazy like Moroccan vibes shit. And I went to Turkey. I remember being in Turkey, like Istanbul and Cappadocia, and being like, this is the closest I can get to Iran. This is technically the closest vibe. And then when I got to Iran, I was like, yo, I've been traveling all these countries, trying to like find these, and it's been here this whole time.
Yeah.
But it was like biased of me to say such things. I'm from there. But like after that trip, it was actually the opposite. I'm just like, wow, like there is one beautiful country with so much culture, so much history. People are so like nice and hospitable, and it's nothing like what the media portrays. So that helped me realize that with other countries, that other people are like, oh, what do you mean you want to Mexico? It's not safe. Or you going to Cuba? I've heard it's difficult. Or it's just like, well, you judging her based on what you've seen.
Exactly.
I'm gonna go experience myself, then I'll let you know how it is, and then. Exactly that, the opposite, sometimes it's just like so dope. So I love it when I meet people who are like, oh, you're from Iran, I've been to Iran, it's really cool. I'm like, what, you've been to Iran? Respect, like that's so dope. And honestly, no lie, most of them have been like, yeah, it's easily one of my like favorite country, if not the best country I've been to. I was like, stop.
Like, who made that?
Yeah, it's like, oh, we made that. It's really cool. It's really humbling and dope to see people travel Iran. I feel like those are the real travelers.
Real
like
ones.
They want to experience proper shit.
Yeah. I want to shout out as well, because I'm obviously planning my trip to go to Turkey. And every time that I go on the Australian directory of travel, there's always a terrorist warning. Right. Every time I've ever gone to Turkey. And if I'm ever going with someone who's not Turkish, they're always like, oh yeah, did you see the like terrorist warning on there? And I was going to say, like, it's fair, all these warnings that are there. There is some things going on,
tactics.
But yeah, like it's not, like use your own discretion as well, because one source of media to represent a whole country and what's going on there, there's actually so much fear around traveling for that reason. Absolutely. Even just look at the small dynamics between Melbourne and New Zealand. Like, for example, my friends would be reading the stuff that's going on here and might call me and be like, oh, everything all right? I heard you guys had like 50,000 cases. We're chilling, man. I'm busier than pre-COVID. What are you talking about? And then like one of them was coming for that Brazilian gig that I was telling you about. Yeah. And he was just like, yo, man, what's it like? I was like, bro, New Zealand's got more COVID than NZ right now. So it's kind of like, the media will always portray things differently. So it's, and then a friend from Adelaide came and was like, yo, you guys are chilling here. I was like, yeah, what'd you think? He's like, according to the news, there's this and that. You couldn't dance, you couldn't do this. I was like, nah, bro, don't worry about it. We chilling. Like, thank fuck, finally. But yeah, I don't watch the news. Yeah. I stopped. I can't be fucked anymore. Like, it's too fabricated, and like, obviously, things that are important I'll follow up and pay my attention to, but it's just like, why wake up and fill your day with full of negative, sad news? Like, sad things are happening every day, but then there's a lot of great things that are happening that's not being documented. So that's the part where I'm just a bit like puzzled by. So it's like, I try to remind myself that, there's a lot of fucked up shit in this world, but there's a lot of good things that are also happening, and people that are doing things that we don't actually know about. And just because it's not being documented or posted about doesn't mean it doesn't exist. So. And like, if you want to stay educated. Don't just watch one news channel.
Yeah.
Watch from 10 different countries.
Right.
Talk to people from 10 different countries and then tell me, what's up.
Right.
Because like one source of media is so limiting. And I think the reason I'm like so like emphasizing this is because as creatives, I feel like it's really important to travel and get out of your bubble and your loop of comfort to be able to grow as an artist.
Oh, absolutely. Well, isn't the media pretty much owned by one person? So technically everything there is just like an echo chamber. Yeah. Where would you like to travel to that you haven't been to?
Probably Japan.
But you haven't been to
You
Japan?
haven't been to Japan?
I haven't been to Japan.
Yeah, definitely do it.
Yeah,
like
I will.
it's pretty easy to go
I
to Japan.
will.
Like,
How long were you there for?
I've only been there I've been there when I was like mad young, like 8 years old. Thanks, shouts out to Dad. And then I went in 2014, and then I went just literally before COVID hit.
Because you said earlier you went to live, or was that just sussing it out?
No, that was so that was the 2014 one where I went and for like 2 weeks, great time. But then I was like, ooh, I could
back.
move there. It's dope. And I went there and literally it was did 2 DJ sets, didn't get paid. And which is fine, like that was the whole thing. Some of the DJs, they DJ for free. I was like, yo guys, DJ for free. It's just, I don't know if I'm pretty sure it's been removed, but there was a period where you needed licensing for dancing in Japan. Like certain bars didn't allow dancing. So the two, luckily my 2 events were both at a venue where you couldn't dance. And I found that a bit like funny, but like I think they removed that now, which is great. So I remember just like experiencing that and like, no, I'm staying. Like,
I need people to dance.
yeah, we're good. But like, I love Japan. It's like so cool. Everything, especially if you're into music, they got like great record stores, a sense, and and you can go to Kyoto on a train.
Yeah,
I love it. I highly recommend it. Please get it out of the way.
Thank you.
Like,
I will.
Put it on your top 3.
It is.
Because it's that dope and it's super close. And they Jetstar always does like cheap stuff. So get on it.
Oh yeah.
100%.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, we before I say this, is there anything you want to say, David, before I wrap this up?
No, so good.
We good?
Definitely go to Japan though.
Yeah. Done.
And then come to Iran if you go to Turkey.
Done.
We'll have to arrange something.
Done. We wrap our episodes up by asking our guests what their favorite piece of art was for the week. Can be any form of art.
Oh, this is gonna be hard because I've literally just met 2 new friends who are artists, and they both make really good arts. But I forgot what like the artist like name is. Okay, no, wait, Jake Harper, I think he.
There you go.
Don't worry, it's on my phone. Hey, I saw a night cat, black cat. Sorry, they've got all these arts on display, and it's really dope. It's very like vibrant and colorful, and it was inspiring. Made me want to paint.
What was the painting?
So it's kind of like there's an artist. I'm pretty sure there's a Melbourne artist called Fis, or he could be from European, PHIS, and it's kind of like more on a graffiti end, but it's not like graffiti. It's just like lettering or shapes looking, and then I don't know. It's kind of really hard to describe, but it's got heaps of details and it's very vibrant. I like that shit. I like vibrance.
That's
Colors,
so cool.
Colors adds vibes.
That's so cool. You're the first guest to shout out a local artist. So
yeah, I hope I said his name right.
Yeah, feel free to check it.
Yeah, can I? That's I don't want to be that dude. Like, okay, it's good because the picture's like literally right here. Okay, here we go. Lucas Casper. I was way off. I'm sorry, Lucas. Your shit is dope, man. Here you go. This is what it looks like.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's like this is a skateboard.
That's sick.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah. So what was his name again? Just to
Lucas Casper.
Lucas Casper.
Check him out. He's got some paintings in Black Cat for sale.
Hell yeah. And I just want to like touch on the fact that you paint as well. I know you don't classify yourself a painter, but your paintings are dope too.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It was just like I was pretty bored of lockdown in New Zealand. I was just like, my sister's like, why don't you paint? I'm like, you know what? Another crack. And honestly, it's just like having fun, stealing images from the internet and just trying to copy it. And next thing you know, I'm just painting people birthday gifts. Like the whole time I was there, it's like, here you go sister, here you go auntie, here you go mom.
So nice.
And so it's cool. It's a nice, another form of therapy. Again, like when I can't make music or I'm like, okay, today's not the day. It's like, all right, we'll get this up.
Yeah.
So again, recommend it for people who like drawing and doodling.
Another writer's block cure is just try another form of art too.
There is no writer's block.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
It's like, what are you talking
Don't
about?
need a cure for
You're like,
something
have you
that
been
doesn't
listening to me?
exist. Oh, bless.
So you can find Amin's music pretty much everywhere. Did you just want to give us your socials and how people can find you?
I'm on Spotify. It is Amin Payne.
AMINPAYNE.
AYNE, and then my house inspired project, which is Teymori, which is TEYMORI. Spam, SoundCloud, Bandcamp, Spotify. If you're in Melbourne, you want to catch us do stuff, we do residency at Section 8 of Tuesday.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hopefully
Got
catch
a gig
my
on Friday?
Friday is my album launch with Teymori.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And yeah, no, it's been great. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for your time and energy.
Chats. Yeah,
really appreciate you.
Anytime.
You can find, where you can find David and I. I'm not going to repeat our socials.
Yeah, you
go back an episode.
Check out the link below and subscribe.
Bring that down.
Thank you guys so much for joining us for another episode, and thank you again for being here. I acknowledge that you do have a really busy schedule, and I appreciate you. Everything you said was so valuable, so I hope you guys took something valuable out of it too. I'm sure you did, and we'll see you next week for another episode. Bye.
Peace.